Okay, we're back here with Kurt Mango, and we're going to go back in time to his service during Vietnam when he was on the, was it SS Midway?
USS Midway,
USS
yeah.
Midway. And this is a really historic time in the war because we can tell us about how the war was winding down, and you were there like during a really historic event when Saigon was
collapsing. It was. The mission was at the time was called Operation Frequent Wind, and you know, we went there in the Bay of Tonkin, and we were there for a week, I think, just waiting for the word to go in.
Yeah.
And were they going to start the evacuation? So during that week's time, at least a week, I can't remember the exact time frame, but it was a week and a half. We sat around in the Gulf, and it was so hot. And I remember my buddies, I had a couple of buddies from New York, Italian boys, and we decided to have a tanning contest. What are you going to do? There's nothing else to do. So we decided we're going to have a tanning contest. So we sat on the flight deck and sat out there and oiled up with baby oil. And with after a week of, I don't even know, but I was as black as your shirt, and I won the contest. And then we got word, I remember the day before it all started, 2 South Vietnamese officers grabbed a 46 Chinook and took off, and just running for, basically everybody's just running for their lives. And they
say evacuate, they mean evacuate the entire city?
Evacuate anybody that could get on helicopters. There was more than one ship out there, and I don't know, because I was a deck guy. I was a flight deck guy, but I don't know the inner workings of what was going on and the coordination of flights and whatever. But I remember that it was the South Vietnamese taking helicopters, our helicopters, but they were stationed there, their helicopters basically, and flying as many people. The Hueys were built for like 11, 12 people, and I counted up to 21 Vietnamese coming off these Hueys when they were coming out to the boats.
So they were coming out to the boats. That's the only place. That was the only way out, was on the boat.
Yeah, you're done. I mean, you
couldn't go to another country.
Run
you
for
were
your
going.
life. Yeah. But backtrack a little bit. The day before, when this 46 came out, we were waiting for word to go that the evacuation was going to happen, and this Chinook comes out and lands on the deck. I mean, it was a beautiful morning, like 8:30 in the morning. These 2 officers parked this thing, and the whole side of it. I was a hydraulic technician, flight control, and this thing's just leaking like blood. The hydraulic fluid just soaking the deck. And they'd been shot up and down the side of this thing. And how it made it out to the ships, we had no idea. But they made it to the ship and parked it, and the 2 of them got out. And that was the morning before it all happened, from what I recall. That was one of the first helicopters we pushed over the side to make room for everything else, just because it was all shot up.
Shot up anyway.
And if you haven't pushed a 46 Chinook over the side at 65 feet and make a big splash when you're a kid.
Now, the hydraulics, was that controlling like the cyclic and
everything? Everything
was hydraulic.
Everything's hydraulic. All your flight controls are hydraulic.
So both pedals,
Yeah, everything's like that. So if any leaks or whatever,
like the pitch control, all that.
Exactly. So when they're shooting up your hydraulic lines,
wow,
it's a big. You have secondary backup pumps and this and that, but these guys have just looked like Swiss cheese. This aircraft.
They probably had minutes before they lost control. Then.
No, it was like, you got to be kidding me! You could almost see through this. It was crazy.
Wow.
So that was the start, and the next day.
Do you have any pictures there of that?
I don't have a picture of that. I have.
Were the helicopters on the deck, anything like that?
No, that's why I sent you that. We were really busy. There wasn't really time to take pictures.
I guess there was time to take pictures.
No, it was insane. I have.
Well, I'm going to include, by the way, a link. I'm going to include the link on YouTube that you sent me. That'll be in the description, showing them pushing the helicopters off the side of the ship.
And you might want to put it, because I think that one of the most exciting and historic things, although, okay, let's back up. When the evacuation started, like I said, there was at one point I counted 27 Hueys over the top of the ship at one time. So everybody's trying to land, and everybody's full of people. All the helicopters are full, and a lot of them are running out of fuel. So it was just this mad dash to get them down, get them offloaded, and make room for the next one. And I actually watched helicopters go over our escorts. We had destroyer escorts off to the side of us, and you could watch these guys. They're panicking, and they're trying to look. They fly over the escort, try to find a place to land. Yeah. Can't. There's no place to land an escort. And then there's a couple of times that the guys that didn't have civilians on board. One I remember, they hovered over between us and the escort, pilot and a co-pilot, and just sat there in this Huey. They were basically running out of fuel. They're going to crash land it one way or another. So they hovered over the water, and we had our own helicopters, our big S3s hovering over, and they just, one guy jump in the water, and then see the pilot jump out, and the helicopter and crash.
So dangerous with the blades was still turning and
stuff. That was crazy. They just put it in, and we've been watching this. I said, oh my God, there's two guys in the water. And then our S3s, our big white S3s.
What is an S3 now?
This. And they would run over and pluck these guys out of the water.
Wow.
So basically that...
Is that like a Sikorsky?
Yeah, that's a big old S3, and that helicopter was in the air constantly during flight ops. Whenever we had flight ops, that was always in the air. So if anything went off the catapults and crashed, or these guys would go and pick you up quick, like. So anyway, so yeah, it was crazy. There's hundreds of people coming, and these poor people were carrying everything that they could, basically if you figure that you're going to leave, and the only things for the rest of your, that everything you own, you can take with you. So these people were coming off, and we filled them off the helicopters, and they had chickens, they had guns, they had gold, they had ammunition, pistols, rifles, all this stuff, anything that they could put in their coat and carry, they brought.
But that's extra weight.
Well, then it was not allowed on the ship. And so I remember going down in the hangar bay, and the aircraft elevator was up, and you could just see that, that leaves a huge hole in the side of the boat where this aircraft elevator is, so you can just see the ocean out. And it just rained. It was just raining poultry, chickens, guns, all this illegal contraband that everybody, they just confiscated it from them, and then just threw it over the side of the ship. And I looked down and go, oh, it's just tons of stuff raining on going into the water, and you're 19, 20 years old. Oh, there's a name, whoa! So that was, it was a hectic time. And we got...
what happened after, I don't know the history of this, but what happened when the North Vietnamese actually took over Saigon? Did they start slaughtering people, or what happened to people that didn't make it out?
It was not a good time. They became obviously a communist country, and the people there, I don't know because I wasn't on the beach.
Yeah.
I remember listening to the Marines, young guys before coming in and sitting on the hangar deck, guys just hanging around, recuperating after being in Saigon and that, and these guys, I remember that. I remember one black kid, like 18 years old, talking to his buddies and that, and as nonchalant as you and I are here talking about it, they're talking about, oh yeah, and then when that guy over next to the bowling alley, do you see those guys pop up, and then boom, boom, man, we blew the shit out of those guys, and then these other guys came around behind us, and then, freaking JC, turn around just in time to blow that guy's head off. Man. And they're just talking just like we're having a beer right here, right? Wow. These young kids. And I'm a sailor. I'm not an infantry guy, but I had great respect for these kids. The shit that they were going through. It's like, oh my God. And then the evacuation came. Saigon fell to the north. And, the politics of it, I can't tell you. I just know that we evacuated them.
Where did you take the people that were on, that all these people?
We took them to Guam.
Guam, okay.
Yeah, we took them to Guam, and they were all these poor people. The hangar deck was full of families and little kids. I remember little kids taking them down, and we worked for 24 hours. I mean, we were so tired, but all these poor kids and families were scared to death. And the biggest thing was the little kids, man, because they're scared. I'm getting bottles of milk or whatever we could find to feed the babies and this and that from the hangar deck. But it was really a traumatic time because these poor people, the stuff that they went through, and then they just uprooted. And whatever you can carry, take it with you. And then if it wasn't right, then we're going to throw it over the side, and they have no clue what the future is going to be. So it was a wild time.
Did You know what happened? These people, like, did they end up in America? Did they end up like staying in Guam? Or?
I don't. Yeah, some of them did. The ones that I can't tell you.
So today in Guam, there's a big Vietnamese population there.
Well, there wasn't, but there was after that. You had to find housing. Basically, the U.S. set up, just like they do every place else, set up a housing for all these people. But I can't tell you the particulars of what happened after they got dropped off. All I know, we were on the ship trying to keep these people alive, number one, because you didn't want to be left there, which a lot of them were. And it was just insane. So, but one of the most interesting ones was the 01 bird dog. You want me to tell you about that one?
Yeah.
The 01 bird dog, this was, I think it was before, because it was before all the melee happened. And there was just a couple of things on the deck, and a guy came over, a South Vietnamese officer came over, and you can YouTube it, 01 Bird Dog, USS Midway, and he flew around the deck, and the skipper told us, hey, we got company up above, and we went out there, Chambers, nice guy, and so we went out and looked, and there's a 01 Bird Dog is like a go-kart. It looked like a Cessna 150, but it's like half the size. It looked like a go-kart. It's a one-seater, little tiny airplane with go-kart wheels about this big. And in Vietnam, it was an observation plane. So they'd take this little net out and fly around. And so this South Vietnamese officer had taken this 01 and came out. He found the ship, and he was flying around, and he wanted to land. And he dropped. He let us know that he wanted to land on the ship. Well, we have cables, and you're not going to land you're not trained a fixed wing airplane to land on an aircraft carrier with no training. It's not going to happen. So quick they got message to him, we're going to put the ship in a tight circle, and what it does is it calms the ocean like a mirror. I'd never seen it, but
you never heard of that. Wow.
And he flipped the USS Midway. We went in a big circle in the ocean, and going by the ocean became flat as a pancake. Basically, he said, we're going to take an S3, and you park that airplane, and we'll pick you up before your feet get wet, type thing. And that's when he dropped the pistol on the deck. He goes, oh, I want to land your ship, and I have my wife and 5 kids on board. And 4 kids. There's 5 people behind the seat on this little tiny airplane.
Wow.
So the skipper, quick, pull up every kind of line, anything that was interference on the deck, put the ship into the wind, because the guy's got no way to stop, and he's going to land on the angled deck, and here he comes in this little mat, and we're like, oh my God. And he's done, oh shit. He dropped a little bit of the round down in the back of the boat, and he picked up air, and our hearts, all of us were like, and you'll see the video, and he just takes this thing and he parks it. It's beautiful, the wind catches him, and he flares, and he drops it right on the deck. Wow. And he gets out and just like this, right? And we're just like, man, you're tearing up, man. Yeah. And then he starts bringing his kids and everything out of the plane. Wow. So, and if you ever have a chance to go to Florida, that plane and the note and everything is in the Naval Aviation Museum in Florida. Yeah. So that was a big one. That was
amazing. So show me some other pictures here. Like
that's me on deck. That's in front of one of my airplanes.
And you would have been about how old there?
20, maybe 19, 20. That one 19.
You think it changes a man being in the military? Like,
Absolutely.
They say,
I think that, you know what? I'm an old school boy. I would make it mandatory for kids these days to at least have to go in for a year if they didn't go to college.
In many countries it is,
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah.
Because I can't even believe, I'm looking around nowadays, these guys are 26 years old with their skateboards running around. I say, are you kidding me right now? But
you ever thought what would have happened to you if you hadn't joined the military, like what you would end up doing? Or
I had no idea. No idea. That's my buddy Bruce. The one I told you about.
He's the one on the left?
Bruce is the skinny kid right next to me holding my Chingalero.
Okay.
And Bruce, I started to tell you that story. It's pretty interesting. Bruce was with me in boot camp. And then in boot camp, he got the same orders that I did to go to Millington, Tennessee, to hydraulic school. And then everybody just dissipates and goes wherever. And he got the same orders as I did to go to Whidbey Island, Washington, to A6 school.
Wow.
And then after that, there's A6 squadrons all over, and he gets the same orders as I do to go to the USS Midway. We couldn't believe we're best friends.
Wow.
So you got to be kidding me. So we go, and we both got married at the same time, young kids. And during, while we were in Japan, they shipped our wives over there. Cost us both an extra year.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you stayed there by yourself, you'd only have to go for 2-3 years, and if you brought your wife, and they paid for that, you had to stay for the full 4 years. And of course, you're young, and you don't want to live without your wife. Is that going to mess you up?
I don't know. I mean, we got a fire truck next to us. That's what the noise is. Looks like they're getting ready to move.
They're just stopping to pick up lunch.
Yeah. Yeah, they're just picking up lunch.
So anyway, Bruce, great buddy of mine, and we ended up with orders to the USS Midway.
Now, are you guys still friends today? You keep in touch at all?
Well, let me tell you the end of the story.
Okay.
So Bruce and I spent 3 years on the Midway, 4 years, 3.5, almost 4. It was time to go home. And when the Midway left Japan, where we were home ported, sometimes, you know, if it didn't go to Korea, wherever we went, it would go. A lot of times we'd go to the Philippines.
Okay.
And so we're going to go to the Philippines. This is right before we're going to leave. Bruce had bought a brand new car before he left the States and paid for it the entire 4 years. He had a new car paid off. He had his first kid, mine too, both same age. Everything was parallel. So the ship takes off to go to the Philippines. Well, a lot of our airplanes, when we go into Japan, a lot of the aircraft would offload into Atsugi Air Base, and then when the ship would take to the Philippines, the planes would take off from Atsugi and go to the Philippines, and we would meet them there, rather than land on the boat and transit a couple, 3 days. And so they needed a skeleton crew to go and meet the planes, a few guys from each squadron.
Right.
And so they picked Bruce, of all things, to get to go to the Philippines instead of me.
Oh.
And he goes, I'm going to the Philippines. I'll see you there. And I go, bro, man, it's our last trip together on the ship. Come on. He goes, yeah. See you later, baby. I'm going to the Philippines. And so we pulled out, the ship did, the next day, and we're in transit. I'll never forget, I walked out of the sleeping quarters, and I'm walking through the hangar bay, and the skipper comes on and goes, and I remember him saying, and I want to we all bow our heads and pay respect for our comrades that passed in Atsugi this morning. And they started on a mail cod of Atsugi, and they had taken a mail cod as a jumper plane to jump over to Subic, you know, just catch a ride. Yeah. And a young pilot in the mail cod took off from Atsugi and took a hard left-hand turn too early and crashed and killed them all.
Oh my God.
And he reads the names off. He goes, and da-da-da, and da-da-da, and second class Bruce Flannery.
Wow.
And I just go, you gotta be kidding me. Yeah.
Wow.
That was that. Hi, babe. Wow. So anyway, that was a real traumatic time.
But you could have been on that if he.
Oh no, I would have been with him. You know, if they had chose this boat. So and then you know his wife had already taken off to the States to get the house ready with the kid and everything. So
you had a child too?
Yeah, same as mine. We had our first kid in '74. I have a 45-year-old now.
Wow.
And his same thing, you know. And yeah, Bruce and he. Oh man,
that must have been hard.
That was a tough one. So anyway, that was Bruce, this little skinny guy. He was a very funny guy. But you know, that's trials and tribulations of being in the military. And that was a piece of cake compared to what a lot of them went through.
Yeah.
You know.
So when your time was up, well, let me get one more thing. Give me an idea what it's like on a normal day-to-day life on that ship for you. Like, you get up in the morning. Like what is your schedule like on average? Like, what do you do?
Depending on your shift, you work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you're tired. I mean, you know, and there was times when I had the night shift and I worked the flight deck. It was the hardest anything I did in my life. This is later on my shipboard as I moved up through the ranks.
Yeah.
I was Q&A, it was a quality control on the flight deck during launches and that, which basically I got a team of about 4 or 5 guys, and as the aircraft are taxiing around the flight deck and pulling up to the catapults, the JBD comes up, which is a jet blast deflector, and so it doesn't blow everybody off the ship. And during this short period of taxi time, you and your boys go and just one guy it's a dance, and one in each wheel well, one in the front, one on each wing, and they go and you just go over this whole plane to make sure there's no hydraulic leaks, no last minute anything that's going to inherit and stop this plane from going off the pony into this boat. And then I was in charge of these guys. And it was a really, 21 years old, 22 years old, it's like, man, oh man. And we called it sucking and blowing, for lack of a better term, because these things are, first of all, you have earplugs, you have centimeters on, and you are, if you drop your guard for a nanosecond, one will turn and you'll go over the side. Or if you're down and you lift up at the wrong time, you see the intakes on that A6?
Yeah.
Yeah, buddy sucked right up an intake and took him right down an intake.
Really?
Oh yeah. And so that was really, really stressful.
If you're tired, your guard's down.
Well, and then you compound this. When you're going towards Korea and that, at Korea at nighttime, then we don't get to have white lights. You have to go to red light. And red light is you have a red lens in your flashlight, so there's no white light.
Yeah.
So that cuts your visibility, by 2/3. You get this and you're trying to work up there, and these aircraft are coming and going, and this one's taking off, this one's landing, things are going everywhere, and yeah, very stressful. So when you went to bed, you were asleep before you hit the pillow. It was a lot.
Did you get 8 hours sleep, or how much sleep did you get before you start again?
If you sleep until you're starving, you're always starving.
Did somebody wake you up, or?
No, you woke up because the guys would turn the lights on, and you would wake up. But you went into a coma immediately hitting a pillow. A lot of guys didn't take showers, so we'd have to give it on them. Right? They're filthy dirty. They're so tired they wouldn't take a shower.
You said you were always starving.
Pardon?
You said you were always starving, hungry?
Oh my God! You're that age and you're working that hard and burning that many calories. And I remember everything was carbs. That's why my teeth got so screwed up over the years. You had deep fried okra, you deep fried this and cheeseburgers, and everything was just like a young man's dream. Yeah. And it was 24-hour food available at one of the places on the ship. Even in the middle of the night, you can go down and eat a couple of hamburgers. So you just like
that's good.
Yeah, no, the food was great. In fact, the Midway got a big thumbs up for the food back in those days. So they fed us well. And you worked your ass off.
How much money were you getting paid?
I'm just going to say for whopping $386 a month.
A month?
Yeah. And so,
wow.
Yeah.
Were you saving your money, or were you spending it? Or?
Well, I had a wife and a kid.
Oh, right, of course, yeah.
Well, but I remember, though, this is a funny thing. I don't know if I should, but I remember as a teenager, and a lot of people are this way and this way, but Planned Parenthood had saved my butt when I was about 15, And so I remember, man, they said, do you want to send any of your money to anything, to charities or anything? And I go, shit, I don't make enough to,
Yeah.
But I remember signing up for Planned Parenthood for $5 a month. And I did that for, I don't know, 20 years probably before I shut that deal down. But I remember that. I was like, man, oh man. Everybody nowadays is saying, oh, they're killing the babies, they're doing all that stuff. But I remember them, me and my little girlfriend at the time, and we got on a bus and went to Oakland, California as kids. And they were so impressed that we had the wherewithal to go in and get,
Yeah.
And back in those days, didn't tell your parents, all your medical exam, put you on the pill, did everything because you, at 15 years old are paying attention, right? And so I remember that.
They gave you birth control, yeah.
Yeah, they gave you, as a kid.
I remember that too, yeah. I remember that too.
And so, yeah, and to this day,
they saved a lot of kids that way, they really did.
Gosh. You know what? The fact that they didn't go to our parents, they would let us, and they were impressed and told us so.
I remember parents taking their daughters to Planned Parenthood.
Absolutely.
In the 70s.
Absolutely. The day of free love, everybody was free loving it.
That's right. That's right.
So that was a godsend for me a little bit.
Wow. I'm going to end that section here.